Thanks for joining us on the John Mendola Show. We are driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Center. So let's talk Crestwood Boys Lacrosse. Brian Zabroski, the head coach, joining us right now. Well, Brian, getting some respect out there. I know the coach at Delaware Valley is Coach Krasowski has said, hey, Crestwood's an up-and-coming team. We're ready for him. He knows that you guys have some talent and what you guys are doing in the community. Now, Delaware Valley won the game against you guys, but still there's that respect factor to know that lacrosse here in northeastern Pennsylvania, it's growing, and right now Delaware Valley has been the measuring stick, but I'm sure you're pretty excited about the product you guys are putting out there at Crestwood.
We are, John. You know, it's been a new program. I think we're in our 6th year right now, and we finally have that senior class, or the kids that actually started the youth program back when they were 13 years old. So it's, in my opinion, kind of the first generation of kids that are finally worked their way up and through the system, and you know, they kind of paved the way. And like you just said, Delaware Valley has been the standard in high school lacrosse. They came out and played a solid game against us last week. And what we did was found out where some of our weaknesses are and where we needed to work. And we're looking forward to getting them out and getting them next time.
Well, Brian, let's talk a little bit about your team and the league. I mean, Scranton Prep's a team that's trying to compete with DV. Dallas has some talent this year. And then there's some other programs that are trying to gain a little momentum. So tell us about how you guys are faring out there now and how you feel the competition is.
Well, you know, I think that the competition in the area is continuously improving, and that's a good thing for lacrosse in general. We all push each other to be better. Then once we do face some of those schools that are out of our area, we, of course, are a lot more competitive. But, you know, like you just said, Scranton Prep, Dallas, we already talked about Delaware Valley. You know, these are all Wyoming Seminary we played last Saturday. I think we're all finding that we're starting to get some experience on our teams with some of the leadership from the juniors and seniors, and we're all continuing to get a little bit better. So I think that you're going to see in the next couple of years that, you know, teams like us at Crestwood who have maybe not been on the radar screen for a few years are starting to pop up, and I think you're going to see the same for a lot of other schools, you know, Lake Lehman, Punkannock, and so on.
The explosion of lacrosse, especially in the Mountaintop area, with you know, the program and the youth programs and everything. As you mentioned, these guys that are now seniors, they were one of the first to be exposed to lacrosse. But you know, it's a sport that's been around a whole long time, but to northeastern Pennsylvania is pretty new.
Yeah, we're really kind of saddled in between some hotbeds. You know, just a little bit south of us, Lehigh Valley, Philadelphia. Of course, you get down to Maryland. You know, we're within an hour to 2 hours of some excellent lacrosse. And then just looking up north into the New York State, just up north of Binghamton, you got Syracuse, you know, Watertown area. What we found in the youth level is getting outside of our area, playing teams both to the north and south has made our youth programs a little bit stronger. And then, of course, that's the grassroots. That's what it takes to get the high school programs up and growing, is to have good feeder programs, good coaching staffs, experience, trying to gain some of that knowledge of some of the guys that have maybe played some lacrosse in the past and passing that knowledge along. So I think that's, again, you know, Scranton has a good youth program. Back Mountain Valley Laxers is down the Pittston, West Wyoming area. They just started Wyoming area's high school team this year. And having kids start to play in that 13, 15-year-old age is what's allowing us as high schools to be able to start these teams.
And, Brian, we found a lot of these guys that have been transient, that have found their way, whether it's into Mountaintop or West Pittston or Scranton or what have you. These are the guys that are helping coach, and you've put together a nice coaching staff. There's some good coaches overall in the youth programs there in Mountaintop.
We definitely have. You know, Aaron Caporuscio is our assistant coach. He was one of the couple of guys that actually helped start the Mountaintop youth program. Craig Coslett, his son is a senior right now. Hank Midich. You know, these guys, you know, Craig and Hank had no experience in their background. They had some kids that had played a little bit out in Back Mountain. The kids said, hey, you know, let's try to get something going here in Mountaintop. And they stepped up, even though they had no lacrosse experience or knowledge in the background, and tried to find some guys like Aaron that had some experience and just got it started from nothing. So fortunately, we've had some other fathers kind of step in that have maybe played in college and taken over one of the U9 teams and U11 teams. And, you know, all it takes is one, and then a couple of other interested parents who are willing to learn a sport that maybe they've never seen or played before, and that's the way we get it all going. So it's been working out pretty well so far, and we can always use a few more coaches, that's for sure.
Brian, when you talk about this team for Crestwood this year, what are some things that you like out there right now with your team? Are you a little bit more offensive oriented or a little bit more on the defensive side?
Well, I think we're a little bit more defense. I've always believed that you begin your core on the defense. You've got to keep the other team from getting that score up and scoring 10, 12, 14, 18 goals in a game. Once you can establish your defense and kind of level that playing field, then you can get your attack going. We've got some experienced players. Dan Frischel is on the team. John Macri, he was a midfielder last year who stepped up. He's playing defense now. John Midich, Connor Keenan, another midfielder. We had some gaps over on defensive side and had some very athletic individuals who stepped in this year. And now we've got a group of 5 to 7 guys that can kind of step in at any one point in time and give the other guy a break. So I think what we're trying to do from a defensive standpoint is not just concentrate on a core of 3. It's being able to get our entire defensive core, all 7 or 8 guys, the ability to be able to step in there at any time. We've had a couple of injuries early in the season. Dan was out with a concussion for a few weeks. John Macri with a knee injury. And what I think our philosophy has been with trying to develop all 7 or 8 defenders has allowed us to actually see some success. So when one goes out on injury, the other guy's ready to step right in.
And you talk about your offensive attack. Tell us about the guys that are able to score for you.
Yeah, well, we've got some experience there. Drew Babinski, Jay Popson, Ryan Megan are 3 attack men that have been playing that position basically together for the last 3 years now. Once we get the ball down and transition it to the offense, they're very sure-sticked. They've got a lot of confidence in their stick skills. We're able to move the ball around with confidence and able to basically establish that settled offense and get some points up. We've been able to put a few more points on the board this spring than I actually anticipated. And what that's allowed us to do is rest those midfielders so they're not running up and down the field continuously. And it also allows us to try to work some cuts and just try to establish that offense.
Brian, what would you like to see with your team over the next few weeks? When the playoffs start approaching, tell us about what you'd like to see out of your team and where the guys are now.
Well, you know what? I think it's all about momentum. Del Val came in and we suffered a pretty good loss to them. Like I said, it showed us some weaknesses that we had. But what I like to do is over the next few weeks to continue to build that momentum. We had a nice win this weekend against Seminary. Dallas tomorrow night. Hopefully we have a good game with them. Continue to spread that production on our offense. Having scoring for both the attack and the midfield. What we don't want to be is a one-trick pony. We want to make sure that we have threats coming from every direction. So when we go against those better teams, it's a little bit harder for them to key in on particular individuals. So, from an offensive standpoint, what I'd like to see is us just to basically share that ball. We always try to tell the kids we want to play an unselfish game of lacrosse. Always look for that one more pass. And as I look back through the stats, I think what I'm seeing is a nice even distribution of assisted goals. I'm not seeing a lot of one-on-one solo goals, so I think that's, in a way, the stats kind of proving the philosophy that we're trying to bring to that offense.
Well, Brian, it's a pleasure speaking with you about your boys there at Crestwood, and again, continued success, and hope you guys have a nice finish to the season.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk, John.
That is Brian Zabroski, the head coach for the Crestwood boys lacrosse team. Here on the John Mendola Show, we are driven by McCarthy Tire and Automotive Centers.